Hi, I'm Ron.
I'm Don.
Thanks for joining us today. Today's topic is rolling up your sleeves. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about some opportunities each of us have had in our careers to quite literally roll up our sleeves and get involved in the process of facility maintenance to ensure that the restaurant gets opened in time. And what we're describing here are stories, anecdotal stories of our actual experiences in rolling up our sleeves and getting involved and climbing into whatever we need to climb into, which is what a facility manager does to get a restaurant operational.
Not just as management, but actually laboring and working alongside other contractors and other people, and not just running the job, but proving that you're part of the team and showing leadership and common sense that we've got to get this done.
A sense of urgency.
Yeah, the sense of urgency.
Being committed, and I think that sends a strong message to operations too,
And
when they see that you're that committed to their operation.
You lose the sense that you have too much pride to do that.
Or you leave your pride in the parking lot. You won't need that. No pride
Exactly.
needed. So,
When I was working in plumbing situations, replacing sewer lines, oftentimes when we're working overnight, sometime middle of the night, the crew gets tired and they start slowing down. And you get behind and you realize your schedule is not going to make it. So you grab a shovel and you dig into the hole and start helping them move material and replace sewer pipe and all that kind of boy. In one particular restaurant, I was literally tunneling underneath a wall at about 4 a.m. because they just weren't making it. I had my sharpshooter out and I was digging away, and the broken pipe was right next to me that came from the restroom. The lead plumber decided it was time to relieve himself, and he flushed the toilet. I was then laying next to all his liquid and solid waste while I was helping him finish his job in time. Sometimes when you're rolling up your sleeves, it's not really a lot of fun, but you got to do it. We got it closed up, got everything ready, and we were open for lunch on time, and none of the staff knew that particular story.
I promise mine won't be near as gross as that. I recall a situation where we were changing the ceiling tile and grid on a server alley, and the crew that I had in there doing it missed part of the instructions pertaining to how they were to plastic off the small wares and plates and things like that on the server alley. And when I got in there early the next morning to inspect the job and make sure we were ready to open on time, I discovered that we had a fine layer of dust all over every one of these plates and bowls and whatever other utensils were up there. And so I took it upon myself, having some years ago experience working as a dishwasher inside restaurants, I took it upon myself to start immediately grabbing plates and bowls and cups and spoons and washing. And so I stood there for a couple of hours and washed to ensure that that restaurant was operational at the proper time the next morning.
Did you write your name in the dust before you started?
I certainly could have.
I have, again, a number of times worked in overnight situations where the crew, again, at about 3, 4 in the morning, they start flagging and slowing down, they want to take a break, and you really aren't staying with it enough to be sure you're going to be opening. And breaking out concrete curbs in restaurants, you never know how hard they're going to be or how long it's going to take. And in several cases, the crew is taking a break, and I just walked over and I picked up a jackhammer and started working the jackhammer. And after a few seconds, the lead person yells at somebody and says, "Take that jackhammer away from him." And I would say, "Nope. Let that person pick up a jackhammer and keep working." And then get somebody else to try to take. I wouldn't relinquish that jackhammer until everybody had a jackhammer working, or they were taking away the material that was generating, and then I would relinquish the jackhammer. Sometimes leading by example that gets the job back on course and saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this as long as it takes. We are going to be successful here. Do you not believe it? Because I'm going to make sure you do by the time we're done."
We had a situation one time, I recall, where what I call 3X booth and a 2X door, meaning that we were doing a booth replacement in the front of the house, and one of the corner booths that was designed and shipped and sitting out in front of the restaurant was about 50% larger than the door it needed to go through to get into the building, and the original cut sheet drawings did not show that. So there we are at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out what to do, and ultimately I recall it was all hands on deck, and we removed one of the windows to the restaurant just to get that booth in. So I suppose when it comes back out at some point in the distant future, it'll come out via a chainsaw.
I had early in my career a situation where I was replacing parking lots and replacing them with concrete because it was highly expansive soil, and this is North Texas. Hard day out there. It was, we started at 7 o'clock and we're pouring all day long, and at lunch this restaurant we're only doing a third of the lot. It was a gigantic lot at a time, plenty of room for the lunch crowd. And all of a sudden, we were overloaded. The parking lot was totally full. People were parking on the street, coming in. We had a line out the door at lunch. And this is a casual dining restaurant that did lunch, but not lunch. I was in my suit, all covered with sweat, having been out there all day. And this, when you wore a suit, even though you're pouring concrete, went in and got the manager. What's going on? He said the great big hotel down the block, they closed their kitchen, and they're sending everybody up here to us. I said, what do you need from me? He said, can you get your crew outside to start helping people find ways to park cars and making it safe out there? I said, yeah, we can suspend pouring for a little bit. He said, can you do anything in the kitchen? I said, well, I can fry, but I'm probably better expoing from the server side, making sure all the tickets are all the food is on the plate right, because I had studied this a little bit. And so for that lunch, I was, all sunburned and wiped off concrete dust and all that kind of stuff. Expoing the window, making the plates coming out of the window were right, while my crew outside was acting as valets.
I've got one more I'm going to bore you with, and then I'll stop. And that is, I recalled many moons ago re-roofing a restaurant in Kendall, Florida. That's South Florida, a suburb of Miami. And at the time, Kendall had a requirement in their building department that you could tear the old roof off, but until their inspector came out and did a physical inspection on the insulation on the decking, you could not re-roof or put the roof back onto the restaurant. So I recall, and as in typical South Florida fashion, we got the roof opened up, we got the insulation exposed, we called for our inspection, the inspector didn't come, and then all of a sudden the rain came, and we ended up in a situation where the dinner rush was coming, and we had water leaking into the restaurant. So it was an all hands on deck, again, quite literally on deck, with water extraction and replacing ceiling tiles and wiping down tables and getting that restaurant open for dinner.
I made a mistake one time when closing a restaurant that was a little bit messy and sloppy for me. We had several restaurants, dumpsters outside, and we were throwing away all kinds of stuff, and I didn't properly identify which dumpsters that the crew I had running things out to be thrown away could dump in. So they filled up everybody else's dumpsters, and they quickly came over and alerted us to that mistake. So I personally got into the dumpsters and threw out all of our stuff out and had them hauled over to another location where we could get somebody in to pick it up and haul it away. But it was, okay, it was my mistake, and you guys were just doing what I told you. I'll take the hit and climb in there with that mess and throw everything out of the dumpster. This is all about rolling up your sleeves and showing the contractors and your own staff and the restaurants that you're part of the team.
Coming to a dumpster near you.
There was another one that really was kind of unfortunate. Another concrete job in North Texas, and I was standing on the sidewalk, and the fresh concrete down, and about 4 feet away was the grease trap lid. And it was securely down, and about 4 feet beyond that was where they had put in, I've lost the term, to stop the concrete from rolling any further, and it was gravel beyond that. So I needed to get across that, so I was going to jump to the lid and jump all the way across. I don't know to this day how it happened, but that lid spun on me and I went right into that grease trap.
Wow.
Got my arms out quickly enough to stop from going down any further than this, but the grease was, belly button or above on me. that was not really rolling up my sleeves. It was getting rid of a lot of clothes.
It was throwing away your sleeves.
Literally, I got out of there. I grabbed my daytimer out of the grease trap real fast before it sank, and they helped me out of there. And then they had to refinish that. And I threw my keys to somebody, had them pull my vehicle around behind the dumpster where no one could see it. Took off all my clothes, threw them over the dumpster wall. Got in my car, drove home, called my wife at the time, said, "Are there any kids out? Because I'm going to be coming home naked and got to run into the house that way." And she made sure there was no kids there, and I made the mad dash for the shower. And she giggled and giggled and giggled and giggled. But yes, I have taken a swim in a grease trap.
And for those keeping score at home, Don started this series with a gross story and ended with another yet gross story. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. I'm Ron.
And I'm Gross Don.
How do people subscribe?
Subscribe.